thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So I want to begin our conversation before we get into what you're doing these days, a better way, everything that's going on. I want to know, as an artist, how did you survive the last 3.5 years of the pandemic? And how has it changed you now that we've kind of come out and things are happening?
Well, COVID actually was really good for me, aside from the fact that I got COVID, I think, 3 times or
Oh,
four
wow.
times, something outrageous. And actually, COVID, speaking of COVID, I had a really, I had it at the end of August and I got severely dehydrated and fell on my foot.
Oh,
I
no.
broke my foot and then I had foot surgery in
Wow.
September, which I've been kind of coming back from ever since. So COVID has been interesting,
Yeah.
but it was also really great for me, you know, when we were really in the thick of it, because I I was able to transition to more teaching. I love teaching, um, and so that's how I made it through COVID.
Yeah, I got it.
And I was making this album too.
So that's my next question. How good does it feel to have new material out and to kind of be back into it?
Well, it feels great. I mean, I took kind of a long hiatus between original albums because I was performing mainly as a jazz vocalist. And so I had released several jazz albums before now releasing another album of originals, which was long overdue.
Right. So I guess that is kind of the lead in. What was kind of the artistic vision for this project?
Well, it was kind of a happy accident, actually, because when I was working with Red Goebel, who you may or may not know, he produced the album, and he's an accomplished artist in his own right. He's also toured with Gino Vanelli and other great jazz acts. But I, I I had been working with a producer in New York because I had been living in New York um, in most of the '90s, and I was wanted to make a scratch track for him. I'd like some demo tracks, and I went to Greg's to make those demo tracks, and then Greg basically made a couple of those songs into full-fledged produced songs. And then I was like, dang, I like that. So then I didn't look back. So I was like, well, I don't need to send my stuff to Brooklyn. I can just do it here.
Yeah. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I mean, the album is uh, there's a lot of really slow songs. Greg and I were like, well, we kind of need kind of something a little bit more upbeat. So we did one cover, which was Jim Pepper's Witchy Taito, which has been recorded by many, many, many artists. He was a um, uh, Native American jazz musician, saxophone player. And so, anyway, that's my long way of saying a lot of the songs are very introspective. Some of them, there wasn't really a main theme per se, but they were all um, very, I would say, probably on the quieter side compared to some of my original music, some of my other albums.
Yeah.
Um, and I talk a lot about relationships, as a lot of people write about love, but then I also have the title track Better Way, which speaks to homelessness, which is something that's really an issue in Portland and all over the country. It seems like, from my observation. But so Better Way kind of sets the tone for all of the material, which says, hey, don't give up, right? Just let's, don't up on people, don't give up on relationships. There's a better way. And so, but in particular, the title track speaks to us kind of looking at ourselves and saying, how are we relating to people who are struggling in
Yeah.
society? how are we actually relating to people? Are we just trying to not see them, or do we look down on them, or can we look at them with compassion and empathy?
So you were born in LA, raised in Portland. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into jazz. How did this become your life?
Yeah. So my dad is a jazz drummer in Portland, and so he actually, well, he he was, he grew up with the big band era, and he was really into Charlie Parker and stuff, and he he ended up moving to New York, and that's how he and my mom got together because my mother's a New Yorker. And then they went out to LA, and after they split up, I came to Portland with my dad, and he there's a really strong jazz scene here.
Yeah.
And this the way my dad tells it, he actually stopped playing traps when fusion came, because he didn't really he was kind of old school, and so he, instead of playing fusion stuff, he went to Latin jazz. So I grew up basically listening to Latin jazz, Tito Puente, Eddie Palmieri, yeah, my whole life. And then he had a huge record collection, so I um, uh, grew up on all the classic singers, Sarah Vaughan and Dinah Washington, um, all of them, Ella. And so that's how I got into jazz. I was singing in a jazz choir in college, and in high school. Actually, I went to did a college course, and then I ended up taking studying jazz in college for 2 years, um, in vocal performance. And then, yeah,
Yeah. What was the first live jazz show that you saw that blew you away?
first one. Well, I saw Betty Carter in New
Wow.
York. That was really a trip,
Yeah.
because the way she performs, you know, I don't know if you know this, but she opens her mouth very big, and it's her face was very expressive, and it just kind of blew me away, because she could create these sounds that nobody else could make.
Yeah.
That was a great show. I also am a huge fan of Dakota Staten. I saw her in New York as well.
Yeah.
um, let's see, well, I've seen Branford Marsalis, I love him.
Yeah.
And God, I mean, I've seen a lot of jazz shows. Diane, I'm a big fan of Diane Reeves.
Yeah.
um, and I've seen her in more recent times. Um,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a list. So, you've been at this for some time. What do you love the best about being in the jazz world, being a singer, performing, recording, all of these aspects? What do you look forward to the most?
hmm Yeah. Well, I was talking about Portland as a really big jazz scene. I know that there's pockets of jazz scenes. I know I've heard that Kansas City has a really good one. And
Yeah.
um, where are you at?
I'm in Kansas City.
Kansas City. Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard that
Yeah.
Kansas City has a really good one.
Yeah, it does.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's pockets everywhere. Um, and I mean, jazz is a conversation. So I really like the way people support each other here, both, personally, but also musically. And I, when I was releasing my CDs of original music, and I was trying to tour a little bit, but me and just a guitar was so kind of sad and depressing to me. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't, like, just drive with me and my little guitar and play my show. I like having a combo, a trio, and I actually have a larger band for my Better Way band. So I realized that as a singer songwriter, I really needed that conversation.
Yeah.
So uh,
So you've clearly seen a lot of high caliber acts in your life. You've been around a lot of players. What do you try to impart on young players, the younger musicians you get around? What do you want them to understand about this world of jazz music?
well, I do teach a lot of young musicians.
Huh.
But I don't know if we've ever had that conversation. Uh, because we don't really talk about the philosophy so much, just sort of the music, the how tos. But I think that it's a journey. I think that mostly I would just say don't let one day be uh, the indicator for you as far as success. You have to develop experience and both on your instrument and but also just like I mean the music industry is kind of harrowing to be honest. So I mean just think about your music and then the rest will follow if you're true to yourself.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, why do you love jazz?
I love jazz because when I forget my words I know I can always scat.
I
Just
like it.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, I think that's great.
And it's okay because it's jazz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's improv.
No. uh, um, I like the harmonic sophistication of jazz. I'm really drawn to that. I like that it's a big basket, or I don't know what the saying is. It's very inclusive in terms of, jazz has really included a lot of the Latin um, music and folkloric music, even. It can hold everything. Um, but I think a lot of people, my understanding from what I've gathered is just from listening to different people, is that jazz, and this rings true for me as well, that jazz is the thing that defines jazz is improvisation. And so I think if you listen to my Better Way album, you'll notice that Greg, even though some of the tunes are sort of on the pop side, it's not strictly jazz. The way that, I mean, Greg will play a solo on it and it's jazz, because of that, like I said, that harmonic sophistication and that rhythmic kind of element. So,
So of all of the
did I
things
answer your question?
yeah, you certainly did. You certainly
Okay.
did. So of all of the things that you've done so far professionally in your career, what are you the proudest of?
Well, my recordings are my babies. I don't have children, so
Yeah.
uh, I think that just knowing that, especially my original music, they were sort of therapeutic in a way, and so I hope that the messages that are there can also be helpful for other people. Um, what am I most proud of? I just think that I'm I'm glad that I'm not, working side jobs anymore, that I can just be really in the music. I'm proud that I was able to get there, you know. Um, and um, yeah, I'm proud of the people that I worked with. I've worked with some amazing musicians, Randy Porter, Greg Goebel, locally, Dave Capteen, John Stoll, guitarist. I work with him a lot. Um, I'm proud of of the people that I've been able to work with.
Right
Yeah.
on. So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, students, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, wow, you asked the deep questions.
This is the deepest one.
uh, so, who am I? Hmm. Um, well, I've just the first thing that came to my mind, which was kind of a funny thought, which is that I've always looked really young, and now as I'm getting older, I'm, I'm thinking, I, I think that how you phrased it, me thinking about how people uh, perceive me and how I perceive myself. I guess I perceive that um, I am not young anymore, but I'm young at heart. I think that's the thing. Is I always feel sort of like this childlike nature, this feeling of being inquisitive and curious about everything. And so, no matter what age I get, that's kind of like the guiding light.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that was a hard question.
Yeah, it is a hard question. So I'm going to give you my final one is an easy one.
Okay.
Where's the
All
best
right.
place to pick up the new album? Any of your previous albums, to find out about shows, anything about your world, where can they go?
Okay. Well, I am the envy of about a million Indians, like as in India,
Yeah.
because I am the proud owner of www.anandi.com,
Yeah.
Anandi, and you probably read the bio. Anandi means bliss in Sanskrit, so it's an Indian name. So when I pass on, some Indian is going to be really happy to get that website.
No doubt.
I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I don't know what the name of it is, but and then I have a YouTube channel and Bandcamp. No, not Bandcamp. Band. What was that? There's another one that has lists gigs and stuff. But I list all my shows on my website. And then my music is everywhere where you can buy music on the internet.
Okay, excellent. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for talking about your life and
Yeah.
music and the album. Best of luck with it.
Thank you so much. You
Yeah,
take care of
absolutely.
yourself.
You too. And before